Hello and welcome to Narrowcast Boxing. It's May 12th, 2019. In this episode, I'll be recapping a couple of fights from this past weekend. So, with that said, let's get into it. The main fight I was interested in was the Jarrett Hurd versus Julian Williams fight, and this was an upset victory for Williams. The judges had it 116 to 111, and two of the judges had it 115 to 112. I personally scored the fight 118 to 109. I had it very wide for Williams, and I'll discuss why in a moment. But first, I thought that this fight was basically playing out like a typical Jarrett Hurd fight. He loses the first half of the fight before eventually wearing his opponent down. Hurd's fights with Tony Harrison and Erislandy Lara come to mind. The difference here was that he wasn't able to make a push in the second half of the fight. In the fourth and fifth round, I started to get the feeling that the momentum might be shifting towards Hurd, but it never really did. As for why I scored the fight as wide as I did for Williams, I should say that I predicted Hurd to win, but I thought that Williams just did the better work in most of the rounds. He was cleaner and landed the more telling punches. He started off strong and managed to drop Hurd in the second round. He was also able to take everything Hurd had for him, and he was able to cope in the middle rounds, and he finished strong towards the end. He also managed to hurt Hurd to the eye in the ninth round, I believe it was. I'm not surprised that the fight was scored by the judges as close as it was. I thought it was a competitive fight, but one fighter to me was clearly getting the better of it. Williams really held his own and beat Hurd at his own game, which was quite impressive. I'd like to see a unification between Williams and the winner of Tony Harrison versus Jermall Charlo. I believe it's Jermall. A rematch might also be good with Jarrett Hurd. I also wouldn't mind seeing Hurd face either Charlo or Harrison. I do wonder whether Hurd will move up to 160 pounds after this fight. He looked much bigger than Williams, which is why I was expecting him to wear him down, but he wasn't able to do that in this fight. We'll see what happens, but this was definitely a great win for Julian Williams and quite unexpected as well. Moving on from that fight to a couple of other ones I previewed last week, the rematch between Emanuel Navarrete and Isaac Dogboe ended with a stoppage victory for Navarrete in the 12th round. I only caught the end live, but did manage to see the fight the day after. To me, this looked very one-sided. Navarrete was physically much bigger than Dogboe and applied relentless pressure. Both guys really seemed to be lacking a jab in this fight, and I think this hurt Dogboe especially. He just couldn't really keep Navarrete off of him, and he took a bad beating in this fight. Navarrete will be a fighter to keep an eye on moving forward. I'd like to see him unify against Vargas or Daniel Roman. I think that those are very good fights. This was another solid win for Navarrete, and hopefully Dogboe can fix some of the issues that he has and come back as well. He's still quite young. I should also mention that the Miguel Berchelt versus Francisco Vargas fight ended by, I think it was a sixth round stoppage. The corner of Vargas decided that he was done, and this was a good decision in my opinion. It seems pretty obvious who was going to win this fight past the first round. Berchelt looked physically strong with good power and good punch variety, but I question his technique at times. He throws very wide shots and tends to get hit quite a bit. I'd be interested in seeing him against the other champions at 130 pounds and what he can do against them. But this was a predictable outcome for this particular fight. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I will be putting out previews of fights for this upcoming weekend, so keep an eye out for those. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.